Hello everyone, I'm Fisty McRib, and we're back today with a look at Formula P, a new chem that was added to Fallout 76 during the Wild Appalachia expansion. I see questions all the time about Formula P. What is it? What does it do? How do I craft it? Where can I get the recipe? The easiest one of those questions to answer is the last one. You get the recipe as a reward from the Project Paradise event. Project Paradise is one of the more difficult group-oriented events in Fallout 76, and a lot of players overlook it as a result. But don't worry too much. To get the Formula P recipe, you only need to complete the event with one friendly animal alive. That's a challenge, but is far from impossible. If you'd like to learn more about the event, I'm working on a detailed walkthrough that should be up soon, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Like almost all event rewards, this one is based on RNG, so it's not a guarantee to get it on your first try. That said, it's not a particularly rare drop either, so you should be able to get it without too much of a grind. When you finish the event, you do get a warning. Mouth foaming and death? What exactly did we just get ourselves into? We can learn more about the history of Formula P in the Arica terminal that we used to start the event. It's just one of several terminals loaded with lore about Arctos Pharma, but we'll save most of that for another time. For now, let's focus on these Project Paradise recreational drug development automated logs. Project Paradise has begun, analyzing results and methodology of Project Genesis and Project White Mouse to formulate an effective plan. First priority, financial efficiency. The financial efficiency part is no surprise in the Fallout universe, but a major corporation developing a recreational drug? Second entry reads, analysis complete. Project Paradise will use animal testing and robotic technicians to minimize cost, risk, and development time. A preliminary formula is now being developed for test subject dispersal. Moving on to the third entry, Formula A has been dispersed to test subjects. All subjects died within 2 hours, reformulating. Moving on to the fourth and final automated log, formulas B through O have been dispersed and iterated upon with no notable successes. Subjects that consume Formula P exhibit 2 of 3 desired effects and 1 major side effect. Subjects who have not taken Formula P exhibit extreme aggression towards subjects who have taken it. Based on previous analysis of lab methodology, these results are sufficient to sell the product. Finally, we find a technician log written by one Dr. Jude Mays. Could we get an engineer to look at this computer ASAP? The damn thing keeps claiming that the current results are good enough, citing my lack of hours on the project as an example of proper lab methodology. Ridiculous. I brought this thing in at the end of White Mouse to make future projects more efficient, not so I could spend time elsewhere. Those time logs need to be corrected too, please. So we've learned that Formula P was originally intended to be a recreational drug developed by Arctos Pharma that would help users increase calmness, confidence, and social skills. We also learned that it didn't exactly work as planned. We know what it was designed for, but how does that affect us? What happens when we actually use the chem? When we look at it in the crafting menu, we can see that it has 3 effects. It grants +5 to charisma, +3 to luck, and gives increased gun accuracy, all for 5 minutes. Those are some pretty useful benefits. That +5 to charisma will come in quite handy when trying to pass speech checks, and also when selling things to vendor bots. That extra luck will help you get more critical hits in VATS, and who doesn't want more gun accuracy? We'll take a look at exactly what that part means in a bit, but it all sounds pretty damn good on paper. Now I want to see what that increased gun accuracy really looks like, but before we can do that, we're going to need to cook some of this stuff up. Looking at the crafting menu again, we can see that it requires 1 antiseptic, 2 ash roses, 1 bloodleaf, and 2 kaleidopore flowers. Fortunately, I know exactly where to get a bunch of all those things. Let me show you. We'll start with bloodleaf. When I need it, I head to Hillfolk Hot Dogs on the west side of the map and take a walk north along the riverbank. Before you get started, make sure that you have the green thumb perk equipped. That way you double your yield for all the plants you find along the way. In this case, I'm just going to swap out Tank Killer for Green Thumb. Most of these areas are fairly low level. We shouldn't be too threatened by anything. As you walk along the riverbank, you just want to look right at the edge of the water, and you'll usually find multiple bloodleaf plants there. Very easy to get, very easy to find. With Green Thumb, you're getting 2 at a time. I'm grabbing a few other things along the way here. And I think this is pretty self-explanatory at this point. Just continue walking north up the riverbank. You'll go up past Sunshine Meadows Industrial Farm and pick up as much bloodleaf as you can find. I'm just going to speed this along a little bit. Eventually, as you get up near Sunshine Meadows, if you turn to the northeast, you'll see a road with a drainage pipe underneath. That's a good landmark to let you know that basically you've gone far enough. You're good to go, and from here, you can open your map and fast travel down to Lewisburg in the ash heap, where we're going to find the highest concentration of ash roses that I know about. Making our way into town, we will encounter some ghouls. Generally all low-level stuff. It helps to have marsupial here. You'll be able to get up on top of the buildings easier, and that's what we're going for. Lewisburg, before the war, had a series of rooftop gardens that it was well known for, and in those gardens, ash roses were grown, and they're still growing today, which helps us quite a bit. We find one here facing west. You will find a variety of junk you can pick up along your way here, and mostly just follow the plank bridges across the roofs. Sometimes you can get some other items there if you need them, but really we're here for the ash roses. There's another one. We'll make our way across some more. There really are a lot here. It wouldn't even surprise me if I missed some on this run, so when you come here, be sure to look around carefully. And we'll make our way up a fire escape and find another greenhouse. And then from here we can see there's more rooftop gardens on those other buildings, but we can't reach them from here. So we're going to have to go down and look around and find a way up there. I try to get a little cute here and see if I can cheese my way across there on the sign rope or something like that, but you'll see that that is not going to work for me. And marsupial isn't quite enough to get us up there. We're going to have to look for another spot. How about here? Nope, not quite. A few more ghouls to take out. Maybe we can jump up here. Not quite. We'll try again. Not quite. Nope, still no. And now I'll proceed to get stuck on some terrain. Fortunately, we didn't get permanently stuck. And here we go. Here's a fire escape that'll take us up to the other roof. Now that you've seen this video, you can just go directly there instead of jumping around like an idiot for 5 minutes like I did. We'll make our way into the other greenhouse here, collect a few more ash roses. There's quite a few to be found here. And at this point, I think we've collected all the ash roses Lewisburg has to offer. So now we'll go find the more rare ingredient on the list, the Kaleidopore flower. The only place on the map to get that is the Arctos Pharma Biome Lab. So now it all starts to make a little more sense. We have a proprietary drug, we have a proprietary plant that was likely genetically engineered by Arctos Pharma, and in that grand monetization scheme of theirs, they just didn't account for the fact that the world would end and wastelanders like you and I would be able to walk right in their basement and just take everything for free. Once we fast travel in, just make our way up the hill to the west towards the Arctos Pharma building. We can head inside where we'll probably encounter a few low-level robots and go straight down the elevator. There is a bug that you will sometimes encounter when you see that elevator that tells you that the location is inaccessible or it'll be accessible at a later date. It is just a bug. If you ever encounter it, just server hop and you'll be right back where you need to be. And now we can take some time and explore the biome lab a little bit. You want to make your way to each different biome lab. Here we're going to start in C, where we're going to find a lot of Kaleidopore. That's where most of it is in this location. If you want to get in and out quickly, you can just go in, hit Lab C, loot it for all the Kaleidopore it's got, and honestly, you'll be fine. We'll show you a little more here, but for now, this'll do. Unlike the other areas we were in, the enemies inside Arctos are high level. They are more challenging and they can take you by surprise, so be on the lookout. In Area C, you will often see Mirelurk hunters. There's ghouls all around. Do be careful as you make your way through, but with the event not going on, you're not going to be threatened by anything too crazy.
Project Paradise will really help people, won't it?
Yeah, sure, it'll help people.
Who's a good human?
We know all about how it's going to help people. And just continue to make our way around Lab C. It's a bit confusing. You've got lots of glowing things around that can distract you, but Kaleidopores all over the place. When you make your way kind of into the center of the lab area, you will find some robots. Be on the lookout for that. We can see a sentry bot off in the distance. There's usually an Assaultron in every one of these locations as well, so again, be on the lookout. They don't play around. The nice thing with Kaleidopore is it's big, it's bright, it glows, you can see it everywhere. So you don't need to look in hidden locations for it. You just have to keep hunting around until you get as much of it as you can. And there's an Assaultron. No problem there. We'll grab a few more of these before we move into the next biome. Traveling north from C is going to take us into biome A. There really isn't any Kaleidopore in here of note, so there's not much reason to spend a whole lot of time here, but we are in a high-level area. There are some legendary enemies that occasionally pop up, so we'll take that when we get it. And I heard another Assaultron, so we need to keep a lookout for that. It's usually up on the catwalk there, and it's a legendary Assaultron. Even better. So thank you, Ms. Assaultron. I will murder you and take your loot. And look at that, she even tried to deliver herself to me on the ground, but I already made it up here. And now we can head east through another connecting room, take out a few ghouls, and we'll make our way into biome B. If I had Formula P, maybe that would have been a little easier to hit. Biome B does have some Kaleidopore. Not a ton, not nearly as much as C, But if you want a lot of it, then it makes sense to collect as much as you can. Keep your eye out for robots in here. You'll usually see robots, sometimes snallygasters, sometimes mole rats. Not in the concentration. There's an Assaultron. And I don't have eyes on it. And it has eyes on me. And that's why you need to be careful and not just putz around picking flowers like an idiot like I just did. But that's okay. We'll make our way back into Biome B. And I'm not skipping ahead here just so you can see the various routes you can take in here. It's easy to get turned around inside Arctos, so being able to see that a few different ways isn't the worst thing in the world. And I want to know where my loot bag is because I've picked up quite a bit of junk along the way. And now that Assaultron is mine. That's what happens when I see you first, robot. When it comes to Assaultrons, the winner is usually whoever sees the other one first. And now that we've found our loot bag and picked up a few more flowers, I think at this point we've looted this place pretty effectively. So now we'll head back to camp and cook some drugs. Once you're back at your camp, go ahead and rework your perk cards. You want to make sure you remove Green Thumb, put back on whatever damage-related perk you were using there. And then also double check under Intelligence and Luck. Make sure you're running Chemist and Super Duper before you craft your Formula P. Now, I do realize that there was another component here, and that was Antiseptic. I didn't go into detail as to where to find that. Quite frankly, it's a fairly common junk component in Appalachia, so I highly doubt that you're going to need to go hunt for it. If you do, there are certainly plenty of resources out there to show you where to go, but I'm willing to bet that you've got plenty of that just sitting in your stash ready to use. For now, we'll go ahead and finish up here. Looking in the Pipboy, we can see that we've got 34 Formula P doses. So that's very, very helpful. Now you can see that my effects are a little bit lower than what it said on the tin. That's because I'm running the healing factor mutation. So even though I'm running Class Freak, my chem effects are reduced a little bit. If you have Class Freak maxed out, it really minimizes the impact of that, but bear it in mind. During the cutaway there, I did put on the Chem Fiend perk to make my chems last a little bit longer, just to make it a little easier to shoot video. But here we'll go ahead and take a Formula P, look at our effects, and again you can see a little bit of a reduction due to the healing factor mutation, but nothing major. What we really want to look at here is what does this do for our gun accuracy, and the short explanation of it is it improves hipfire accuracy. When I pull out my gun, what you're going to notice is that I have a much smaller reticle than usual. Now the other cool thing is you can stack this. It's not going to stack the other effects, the charisma and luck buff, but it does continue to improve your hipfire accuracy. It's going to have diminishing returns after a couple, but you'll notice the difference here. Once I stack this up, that reticle is like a dot in the middle of my screen. That's going to make it a lot easier for someone like myself, who isn't the best Twitch shooter, to fire my weapons accurately outside of VATS. Now, I also want to take a look and see with the bow. It does affect the bow. You can see that reticle is slightly wider on the bow because it's not nearly as accurate for hipfire as an automatic rifle. But that's still pretty damn impressive. And now we'll take a look at a heavy weapon. Again, really tight reticle. And that's with just 3 Formula P in my system. Let's see this in action against some enemies. We'll head over to Huntersville and take on some floaters. I've still got the heavy gun out. I'm not spec'd for that at all, so this might be ugly, but you can see how tight that hipfire accuracy is. If you've been watching my videos at all, you know that I rely very heavily on VATS. So for me to be able to hit things comfortably outside of it with hipfire, that is particularly useful. I know, even though I'm playing on PC here, I still use a controller when I record. For me, that twitch shooting, the point and click shooting, is really just gone once I put the mouse down. I do that because I think the camera movement looks nicer with the controller. But this is pretty impressive. Now, it's still kind of hard to use the bow even with that high hip fire, but it's still pretty great. Just to be able to feel like I have a chance at hitting my targets is awesome. And I'll make my way up into town here, switch to my fixer. Because really, I'm a stealth commando, and look at that. Even at that distance, nice tight hipfire accuracy. We'll head over to Bogtown. There's a lot of super mutants congregating here, so should be some action. I'm not really going to go through a play-by-play here. I think it's pretty obvious what this does. I can tell you that I did test it. It does not affect your accuracy in VATS. So that stays even across the board. The only thing I really noticed is that it affects hipfire accuracy, really tightens that reticle down and makes it a lot easier to shoot from the hip at your targets, which is very useful. If you are a heavy VATS user, if you really rely on your scopes and your reflex sights for first-person shooting, then it may not provide that much of a benefit to you, but I think it's a pretty cool thing to have in addition to the charisma and the luck. Where I think this chem is really going to be useful right now, though, is in PvP. Interestingly, right now, at least at the time this video was published, there was a bug in adventure mode PvP where ballistic weapons don't work in VATS. You can highlight your targets, you can shoot your weapon, but they don't do damage. So right now, for those PvP players, they might like being able to use Formula P to tighten down that hipfire accuracy, so that might be a useful chem to be able to craft up if you're a PvP player who uses ballistic weapons right now. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Formula P. We now know what it is, where it comes from, and how to collect the materials we need to craft it. And they're not even that hard to find. For the benefits it offers, it makes sense for most players to carry a few around. You never know when you'll need to pass a speech check, collect a few more caps at a vendor, and especially if you're into PvP, that super tight hipfire accuracy when you stack it could add up to a real advantage. But now that we know all those things, we've reached the end of today's video. As always, if you enjoyed it, found it helpful, or anything in between, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button. I upload a few Fallout 76 videos every week, and I hope I'll see you next time.